So if you're asked to calculate a probability where there's either a success or a failure, where there's two outcomes, like returned or not returned is an example of that. It's the binomial distribution. Bi meaning two, either returned or not returned. So the binomial distribution, what you always want to identify is n, which is the number of times you're running this trial. So we have 8 rings being sold, so there's 8 chances of having a ring returned. Then you want to identify what's sometimes called x, which is the number of successes, which means the number of, in this case, they're saying rings returned. So x would be, well, they're saying fewer than 3, so I shouldn't say equals. To be fewer than 3, that means you're less than 3. So we're trying to identify the probability of getting less than 3. That means you could have 2 rings returned, 1 ring returned, or 0 rings returned. Right? We want to add up all those probabilities. And then our textbook uses pi, which I hate, but they use that for the sample proportion. That's the probability of having a success. And in this case, returning something is the success. And the word success there is kind of a rough word to use too. It's like the event you're interested in, really. There's a 10% chance of being returned. So with those 3 things, what we want is a probability calculator, because otherwise we'd have to use the binomial distribution formula 3 times. We have to do it for x equals 0 for no rings returned, x equals 1 for 1 ring returned, and x equals 2 for 2 rings returned. So I've typed in Google binomial distribution calculator. I'll try the first one. Oh, sorry, that's the second one that comes up. They're probably both fine, but first one that comes up, my number of the number of trials is 8. And we want there to be less than 3. So I'm going to try plugging in 3 for x. And then I want this to be, oh, that's gone. Where'd that go? Inference method. Oh, because I didn't hear. Let's not use this one. That's a funky one. Let's try stat trick. Okay, probability of success. So the probability of being returned is 0.1, we said. Number of trials, it means how many different chances do we have of returning a ring. There was 8 rings total. And the number of successes, we said fewer than 3. So I'm going to plug 3 in here, and I want to do this option because that's what we just drew over here, right? Where x is less than 3. And there's my probability. It's a 96% chance that fewer than 3 rings were returned.